I was always reading a lot, studying, reached out to coaches I admire. And so what I did is I wrote letters, work camps in the summertime.
Sometimes you get in a rut of everything that you have going, and when you're an entrepreneur and you get so busy.
Go find somebody that has proven experience in their field, that knows what they're doing.
Yours is a perfect example. That's a long time, right? To really be focused on something and then having the wherewithal to go, I just don't see a future in that. Welcome to Chasing Millions Podcast, where we like to help entrepreneurs take that jump. And today we have a special guest. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Bailey Miles, and I'm excited to be here.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
So today we're bringing on a guest to understand his story, because he's a young entrepreneur just like Josh and I are. And as we normally do, we like to help people take that step, take that leap, becoming an entrepreneur. But keep in mind that it's not easy. So let's get started.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of history about you.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Tulsa, where we are currently today. Pretty much lived here my entire life, with the exception of a few years out in South Carolina. But yeah, I grew up, and I always go back to I was very fortunate. I had great parents. I think that is definitely a competitive advantage that I had that I didn't realize. Just having good parents that instilled really good values in me, that loved me, cared for me. And so I'm very thankful for them and what they did. And then grew up here in Tulsa. Played sports. Sports have been a big part of my life and what I do, even to this day. Went to a school called Holland Hall, played sports there, basketball, football, and baseball, and then wound up getting a chance to go out to Furman University, which is out in Greenville, South Carolina. Wound up going out there to be a walk-on the baseball team, and then wound up doing basketball instead because I knew I wanted to coach, and we can get into that if you want later. But did that. For a season, came back to Oklahoma State, did not play, got in as a GA, or an opportunity came about for me to be a GA.
What's a GA?
A graduate assistant on the men's basketball staff. At the time, I was going into my sophomore year of college. And through that experience, I was also rushing a fraternity. And at the time, my parents wound up getting divorced. So I guess it depends on how much you want to dive into here, but
as much as you're willing.
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to coach, and so I figured that if I was a graduate assistant as a sophomore, it was a great opportunity. But with my parents getting divorced, my brother was senior in high school, I was rushing a fraternity, I was like, something's got to give. And so at the time, maybe out of immaturity, naivety, I said, you know what, I'm going to step away from basketball. That way I can just do rush the fraternity, be around my brother during this time.
Focus on your partying at the fraternity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fun fact. I met Josh at one of his fraternity parties. Do you remember when Jeff took me down to...
I probably don't remember.
So fun fact is that I actually met Josh and got introduced to him for the first time at a Sigma Chi. You're a Sigma Chi.
No, I'm a Kappa Sig.
Kappa Sig, excuse me.
Okay.
My brother's a Sigma Chi. Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I went down there. My longtime friend Jeff Erickson invited me to a Kappa Sig party down in Tahlequah, and I went down there and I met Josh.
Is that how we met?
Yeah.
Yeah. College for me was kind of blurry.
So anyway, sorry about that. So you were rushing your fraternity?
Yeah. And I stepped away from that, but I knew I wanted to coach. And so a lot of ways you get into coaching is either you were a GA if you didn't play, or you played. And if you're not one of those two, typically you don't get to get into coaching. So I realized, okay, how can I make this a positive into a negative? So what I did is I was always reading a lot, studying. So I found guys that I admired, found their stories. And so I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and reach out to coaches I admire for obviously the success of their programs, but for the type of people that they were, their character, integrity, guys that emulated the things that I'd want to do as a coach. And so what I did is I wrote letters, work camps in the summertime, and go identify those guys and work camps and get a chance to know. So at each camp, you go work. The camps I got to work at the time, Brad Stevens was a butler. He had just taken them to a couple back-to-back championships, national championships. They lost, but got to go up there because he was a guy that I really admired and had time with him. Tony Bennett was at Virginia. Shaka Smart was at VCU. Bill Self was at Kansas. Lorenzo Romar was at Washington. Mark Few was at Gonzaga. So I reached out to these places that really emulated what I want to do. And then when I went up there, I had, for whatever reason, had a lot of favor and developed some relationships with some of these guys. And that was kind of how I got into coaching. And from that, a lot of opportunities unfolded. And I got to work USA Basketball one summer. And then going out of college, had an opportunity to go back to Furman, where there was a new coach, but it was a great staff to be on, and it was the right opportunity. So I went out there and did that. And Nico Medved, who's now the head coach at Minnesota, Dwight Perry is the head coach at Wofford, Jay McCauley was the head coach at Wofford, and then Bob Ritchie's now the head coach at Furman. And he took them to the NCAA tournament a few years ago, and they beat Virginia in the NCAA tournament. So a really good staff and good people to be around. And that's always been a part of my stories, trying to surround myself with good people. And so that's, in a nutshell, that's how I got into coaching. So yeah, that's a quick story.
Nice. So we're always talking about leveling up the people that are around us, right? And surrounding ourselves with good people, because sometimes you get in a rut of everything that you have going. And when you're an entrepreneur and you get so busy that you just hang on to what's around you and you're focusing on what's around you and keeping everything moving, and you're not making time to make those social relationships with different people, specifically people that can level you up, right? And I think a lot of times, and myself included, I'm just so deep into the wormholes of what I have going on that I'm not making enough time to surround myself, right, with people that can level me up. And so I'm glad you bring that up, right, because we're always talking about that, is surround yourself. If you're wanting to become an entrepreneur, I'd say one of the first things you need to do is, find some people that are around you that are entrepreneurs if you can, and spend some time with them, right? Ask them questions. These guys are a wealth of knowledge.
And to your point, like, don't just go find a yahoo that's not proven.
Yeah.
Has not endured any pain.
Sure.
Go find somebody that has proven experience in their field, that knows what they're doing, right? And to your point, you said you had in your mind, hey, not do I only want the best coach, right? Not only do I want to learn from the best, but I want to find good humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So I don't have to change who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a very important deal too, because not all successful people are good humans.
Sure,
that's fair. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've been around some shitbags.
Yeah.
You leave there, you're like, golly, I don't know. I'm out of that deal.
I like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to your point, find people that are like-minded, and then find the best. And it's funny how you said you wrote letters. I did the same thing when I started my business.
Yeah.
I had no earthly idea what I was doing in my when I very first started my first business. I was calling other entrepreneurs that were business owners in my field around other stuff. But hey, I'm calling you.
Yeah.
Tell me about your business. They're like, who are you? Are you going to be my competitor? Like, is this a scam? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm not coming in your area. I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the same mistake twice. You know what I mean? I don't want to make your mistakes.
Yeah.
I would speed this thing up.
Absolutely. No, yeah. I think that's great. I mean, even diving into my story, I just tried to identify, like, okay, if I'm not going to go down these two paths of being a GA or as a guy that's playing in a program, like, what are the things that I need to be doing that's going to separate myself? I don't want to go learn from people that are ahead of me, that have similar values, but what do I need to do to do the work? And that was seeing that writing letters was key. Mm-hmm. Working camps, connecting to the right people, and doing it in a way that was authentic to myself, not trying to be somebody else, but truly being myself throughout the whole process. I think that was key too, because if I'm going in there and I'm trying to be someone that I'm not, that's easily shown through in there.
Well, I'm sure they're not receiving a lot of letters from people that want to be coaches, because that takes a lot of guts to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to spend time, hand jam a letter.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to write that thing 5 times. I'd misspell at least 10 words.
That's why we love ChatGPT. We always talk about it. It's been my savior.
Well, it's interesting. I'm fortunate. My dad and mom, especially my dad, has written letters to me over the course of my lifetime, and I've got every single one of those letters. And
oh, really?
Yeah. To me, the value of a handwritten letter, even when I get that from people or random people, I keep a lot of that stuff. That's just me. But a guy named Josh Pastner, I don't know if you ever knew or heard of him. He's the UNLV head basketball coach now. He was at Memphis, and he took over for John Calipari. And then there was Buzz Williams, who's now the head coach at Maryland, was at Texas A&M last year. Those are the two guys that they kind of gave me the blueprint of how they got into the business, because they just worked. They worked and they wrote letters. And it was fun. Earlier this year, we had Josh on the podcast, and it was fun to reconnect because these are guys that, you can learn from everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so learn and then implement, right?
Oh, 100%.
You're talking about proof over promise. Find people that have proven it and that are doing it, and then just learn from it.
Yeah, good advice. Very good advice.
Tell you something crazy. If you watch one of our podcasts, I had my grandpa on here.
Yeah,
my grandpa actually taught you
Quarterback lessons.
quarterback lessons
Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like if you start seeing like Mason's coach, Josh Blankenship is now at Wasso.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his direct coach, but it will be probably.
Yeah.
My dad grandpa taught him. So you start going around all these coaches around here and all these other states. It's like he taught him.
Absolutely.
And all those, you kind of hang around that field. When you're a coach, you're always going to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I try to coach my son in football, and I know football pretty well, but I'm not a coach.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
I ran two offensive plays on defense.
I recognize early that it is not a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
There's a good need for coaches in a lot of places, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so appreciate you sharing the story with you.
Yeah.
Let's dive into your entrepreneur journey.
Yeah.
Right. So I know you've kind of done a lot of things now at this point. So let's start out with what made you take a leap into entrepreneurship, number one, and what was the first thing you got into?
Especially since you sound like you're so passionate about coaching.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was,
you're spinning off names like this.
You know what you're talking about.
I have trouble memorizing some of my ants.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, my mission was to coach college basketball or professional basketball. And so that was always what I was geared toward. I didn't think anything of it. I think early on and in like early high school, I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy and play a sport and become a pilot. And then your goals change and evolve, but I think it's always important to have goals. You're always working towards something. But my focus was always to coach. And I knew what I was getting into, but I think when you live in it on a day-to-day basis, you really get to understand, is this the lifestyle that I want for my future, for my family? And for me, I didn't feel like I really truly loved it enough for that to be true, because especially now in college athletics, it's even more different than when I was involved. And I'm happy that I'm no longer involved in it. But so that was a really tough thing because I had spent so much time, effort, and energy into something that I wanted to pursue, and having the realization that wasn't the direction I wanted to go was a tough decision to make, but I knew it was the right decision. And so when I made that decision, I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? I mean, I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about staying out in South Carolina, just getting into maybe sales or something out there. Didn't have any idea. My dad has been a home builder and developer in the Tulsa area for a long time. And so he had partnered up with a guy who they were building some homes. And this guy had stepped away to take over as the CEO of the HBA, which is the Home Builder Association in Tulsa. And so he was kind of in a little bit of limbo of like, hey, there's an opportunity to come here. Like this guy left and would love to have you. And so I thought about it. I'd grown up around home building. I did not know what it entailed until I got there. But I wound up coming back. My now wife was a year behind me at school. And so.
Oh, you married your high school sweetheart?
No, I actually, funny story. I married my wife. We met on a study abroad trip in Australia. So we met in Australia.
She did not go to Hall and Hall, did she?
No. Yeah, she went to Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And so, but we didn't meet at Oklahoma State. We met in Australia through Oklahoma State. So just kind of a small story. And ironically, if we get into it, her dad and my dad went to high school together at Jinx, which is
that's crazy.
Wild story.
Yeah.
So anyway, but moved back here and got involved in home building and development. So we developed neighborhood development, residential in the Tulsa metro area, and then build houses. And so that's initially what I stepped into, and we can dive into that if you want to, but that's how I got back into kind of entrepreneurship and development.
Gotcha. So you had to kind of recap, you spent your whole kind of life, so to speak, into the world of athletics, right? And that was the direction that you were going. And then you've realized through your journey, you're like, all of a sudden it was just like, man, this is just not the direction I need to go, and had to make a complete 180 switch.
And that's tough to do.
It's
speaking
tough.
from an entrepreneurial world,
Yeah.
I mean, we've started a fuel company, a septic and plumbing company. I just sold off half of my OFS company, which is a lawn and landscape division. Like, you get into these things thinking they're going to be one thing, right? And then you get in there, you're like, you know what? I just don't have a passion for that.
Yeah.
And then the more the over and over doing it over and over, you're like, it's kind of wearing on me. Like, I don't really. You realize start losing traction and losing focus, and you're like, you know what, this is just not me.
Yeah.
Well, I think the lesson,
But it takes a lot to shut it down.
I was say, I think the lesson in that for you guys that are watching is having the wherewithal, right, and the courage to understand and the guts to change course when you spent so much time on something. It's like to yours is a perfect example. That's a long time, right, to really be focused on something and then having the wherewithal to go, I just don't see a future in that, right? And the same can be held for like decisions like that. And then in the entrepreneurial world as well, where it's like, we started a fuel company, and then you get into it and you're like, man, this is the margins aren't where we thought they were going to be. It's a bigger money gain than we thought. Our competitors are, we just can't do it, right? We can't be as proficient and profitable as we thought. And then having the guts and the wherewithal to go, this just isn't going to work, right? Shut it down. And then having the guts to start something
we
different.
sold it, we made money, we got lucky.
On that one we did, yes.
Yeah, and on the septic.
Not all of them though, for you guys that are watching. We had one specifically that, we had to shut it down, and it shut down at a fairly decent sized loss, right? And having the guts to go, screw it, let's cut the ties. I don't care how much it costs. We're going to bail ourselves through this one, right? Let's just gut this one and keep moving forward, right? You're making it sound, in my opinion, a little easier than what it is. So it is a very difficult thing.
I'll give you an example. OFS, like I'm not like day in and day out involved in it like I am over here as much, but the president of that company just didn't have the passion. He got it. The world kind of shifted to him by taking opportunity, and it kind of got him into a lane that he didn't really ever had the passion or want to be in. Mm-hmm. But he never said no to the customer. Next thing you know, he blew up this side of the business he didn't really want to be in.
Yeah.
And then he woke up one day and I could just say, I was like, are you all right, dude?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, well, why? And I could see it in his profits. I could see, because he's a very box checker type guy. He's an accountant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what do you, why? And he's like, I just don't like managing all these people. Mm-hmm. The type of people.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let's sell it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run it.
Yeah.
So he's like, man, but I put so many years in this thing. I was like, yeah, but look, you're not making any money because you don't like it. Mm-hmm. So let's quit not making money and let's go make some money together and find something you do like. He's like, I like doing this part of the business. I was like, I know, no duh. Yeah. Look at your revenue. Your revenue's good and your profits are good. Mm-hmm. So let's sell all that crap and stick with this. And that's what we did. But it took him a second. I mean, it took us almost a year to get his head wrapped around it because he built all these reports with all these employees and all these customers, and he didn't want people to think he wasn't successful, and he didn't want his customers to think he was giving up, and he didn't want all this other head nonsense. I was like, you just got to do it for you. Yeah. And be open and honest. You're not shutting it down because you're not successful. You're shutting it down because you don't want to do it anymore. And you didn't. In this case, he didn't shut it down. He sold his customers off. His customers were still taken care of, and life goes on. But it took him a year to get his head wrapped around it. Yeah. To the point where I'd be like, hey, this is what we're doing. I was like, as your partner, this is what we're doing, and figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. And now he looks back on. He's happy. He's ready to go now. Yeah. Still trying to figure it out because it just happened
recently.
4 months ago, right in the middle of the busiest season, part 2. We shut it down July. That's when it was.
Yeah, it is recently. So, your first entrepreneurship journey, you jumped into building homes. Yeah. We know a little bit about it. You guys know, yeah. Josh more than me, obviously. But why don't you tell the people that are watching, what's some of the good and what's some of the ugly?
Absolutely, yeah. I think you bring up a great point because so many people can get stuck in something because they feel obligated that they need to go down this path or look this way at other people. And I'm sure you guys might have heard like climbing the ladder and you get to the top of the ladder and you realize you climbed the wrong building. Yeah. Right?
No, I haven't heard that one.
That's good though, yeah.
But if you think about it, a lot of people get in that situation. I mean, whether it's in coaching or in a business, you just put your head down and you work, which is really good, right? You need to work. But then you don't ever pick your head up to look around and see where you're at. And all of a sudden you realize you're not going down the path you wanted to go down. Mm-hmm. And so it does take a little bit of self-awareness or maybe people around you to help you right? Have somebody like yourself to come into that guy and just say, hey, is this right for you, right? And alignment with your gifts, talents, and abilities is key, right? You need to be aligned and have some type of passion or desire to do something like that. So I think that point is really important. But within the home building industry, you know, like I think what had happened was I had on road trips, I roomed with our head athletic trainer, and his wife was an architect. And so during our downtime, he would turn on HGTV and he would ask me if I'd ever seen this show. I was like, I'd never watched HGTV. But it was Chip and Joanna Gaines' show, Fixer Upper.
I don't watch it. I've been living it for the last 20 years with my dad.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me a little bit of growing up, just being in homes with my mom and dad, you know, when they'd be working on something or staging a house, you know, whatever that might be. It reminded me of it. So it's kind of nostalgic, but then I really liked it. They're great people. But I knew I wanted to maybe flip some houses too. I was like, that'd be kind of a fun experience. And so when I got back into home building, we were building houses, but then we were flipping. And I remember my first project that I found, I just moved back, and I grew up in Tulsa, right? So I feel like I'm very familiar with areas, but I saw a house that was like $90,000. It was like 4,000 square feet, right next to downtown Tulsa. That's very cheap for a house. And I remember looking, I was like, where is this spot? And so I went and found it, and I was like, oh, man, that's why it's $90,000, right? But I started driving around the area and realizing, like, maybe that area particularly wasn't hitting yet. But I was like, man, this is a great area. It's Crosby Heights. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But then I started making my way to Owen Park. And Owen Park, I remember driving one night at dusk and looking around, and, like, there was a young couple, like,
Owen Park's over there by TU, right?
It's just south of Tulsa Country Club, so it's east of downtown.
Oh yeah. I looked at a house over there.
Yeah. Well, I remember looking, and I was like, "What are they doing? It's night. Like they need to be careful out here." I realized it was a changing area, right? And so that was our first opportunity to invest in an area and flip that house. But that house we got was like $50,000.
Did you make any money?
We did. We made some good money. Yeah, we sold it for put 50 in it, and then. Or we bought it for 50, put about 100 in it, and then sold it for about 275.
Dang!
So it's a really good investment.
So when you do that, explain that process. I know there's a couple ways to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So what did you do, and what do you know about some different processes on how somebody could do that wants to get into that?
Yeah. So for my wife and I, what we've done is that's just kind of the way we make money on the side. Is we will find a property or build a property, live in it for 2 years. And then after that 2-year period, you don't pay capital gains tax on it because it's your primary residence.
It's good information for you guys that are watching.
Yeah. So that means that if you make $100,000, you're not taxed on that $100,000, right? And it varies when you get married. You can bump up. I think the max is $250 for single person, and then $500 for household. So anyway, that's what we've done throughout our time is kind of continue that every 2 years.
I did that too.
So to get in a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So you moved into a house, found a cheaper house, right? You moved into it. You fixed it up. Did you fix it up? Did you hire somebody to fix it up?
Yeah. I can't claim that I swung any hammers. Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
That's not. I'm not great. I'm not gifted in that regard. I can do stuff. But
I'm not either.
I'm not either.
Yeah,
so don't feel like you're alone over here.
I can't hang a painting. You fell off the wall.
We know, bro. We know. Okay.
I can build a house.
So you buy a house. You live in it for 2 years. You fix it up. You hire contractors to fix it up. Mm-hmm. How did you pay for it to fix it up?
To fix it up,
did you pay with your own cash?
With a bank loan. Yeah.
With a bank loan.
So we worked with a bank, got a loan, and what we did, being in construction, we have resources and relationships with subcontractors, and the subs that we use on new construction were able to come in and help me. Mm-hmm. We totally gutted this house. I mean, we walked in this house. If people were to see this house originally, people would have. I'm surprised my wife let me do it, but it had bullet holes in the walls. It was a hoarder house, had a bunch of junk in it. I mean, there was a reason that it was so cheap, right? Yeah. And we gutted it and then gutted everything and then redesigned it.
But usually those houses are the ones you make money on.
Yeah, I mean,
because everybody else is so scared. Yeah, they go in there like, oh gosh, and I'm looking like, oh, this $sign. Nobody else is going to buy this thing.
I do now. At the time, I was learning. Right?
Well, you have confidence now. Now you're like, I can do this. It's just paint. It's just flooring. It's just wood. I can rip it out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any money either. Like, I was just, I coached, but you don't make any money, especially early on in coaching. So I didn't have any money. And this was something that, I think maybe the point for listeners is do as much preparation and research as you can to make sure you're making the best decision possible. But then when you make that decision, when you sign, you're committed and you got to go. Right. And so that's been a good learning lesson. That was my first step in that. But it turned out to be a good opportunity for us. We were there for 2 years, sold it, and then that house was actually featured on House Hunters on HGTV. So kind of ironic.
No way.
Yeah. So
I had a hoarder house, my one I call it the TU home. The guy he went through like some mental breakdown, and he had 3 German Shepherds in there, and he never took them out to poop.
Yeah.
So he would have, when I first walked in there, the guy was living in there, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. He had Visqueen, layers of Visqueen, because the poop would get so tall, he would just roll Visqueen out of it, and there'd be another layer and another layer. And I took my wife over there, and she thought I was freaking crazy.
Yeah.
I had cat pee over it. He had like 4 or 5 cats in there.
Gross.
So the layer of Visqueen, for you watching, could you imagine? It felt like you were walking on a spongy floor, and I was like, what is this? Gosh. He's like, he was super embarrassed.
Yeah, they usually are.
But it was getting repossessed, and I kind of got him out of his situation.
Yeah.
He was a cop. He was an active duty Tulsa police officer.
Oh, my Lord.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know what happened, but something went cuckoo. But the crazy thing is the dude had a gun on his side. I thought he was like there to protect me, and he was like, I'm sorry about the house. I should have cleaned up. I'm thinking, oh, my God. I was like thinking in my head, is this your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I've been living here for, 10, 15 years. I was like, oh my gosh.
So you jumped into the real estate stuff, right?
Yeah. So
cut your teeth a little bit in that. Where'd you go from there?
Yeah. So moving back, so my dad had kind of scaled down, and when I came along, we started kind of picking back up and building more. And so we, just to dive into the negatives, right? When you build spec houses, you are speculating for the market. So you're building a house and it is not sold, right? So you're putting it out there, putting it on the market. And we had gone in and we did a lot of custom homes, but also we were building specs for each of these developments that we were in so that we had homes to go off of. Yeah. So a couple of these specs that we had.
What's the price range of your specs?
Anywhere from, we had one that was $450 and then mostly in the $500 to $600 range.
Oh, like nice size specs.
Yeah. Anywhere from, we had one in a kind of a gated neighborhood that's more 55 and up plus, so it was a little bit nicer for a small square footage, but it was $450. But anyway, these specs, they sat for a long time. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about is, if things sit, you have a period that you budget out for interest, right? And if it goes past a certain threshold, however long it's on the market, that can eat into your profits
right? Every day.
Yeah. So that's things that you don't see, and we've had a couple houses sit for longer than we wanted, right? So sometimes you don't make the money. You may not make any money, right? And you
might pay to get rid of it.
You might pay to get rid of it. Yes, absolutely. And so that's always a tough learning experience, but also too,
banks are calling you. Hey, just how's it going?
Yeah.
You're beating your head against the wall.
Yeah.
You're seeing your profits dwindle down to nothing. You're
absolutely.
Say, man, this thing took 6-7 months to build, and I did all this for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
All this stress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got people on there, and you're all messed up in the head when you're showing it. You're putting pressure on your realtors. And
Josh, we're trying to encourage people.
Yeah. I'm just saying, our show's about the good, bad, and ugly. People say, oh, I want to be a home builder. People don't understand, like, when you hold these homes and every day it's a daily accrued interest.
Absolutely.
Your tax bill comes back around. And then the bank says, hey, let's put this on P&I.
Yeah.
You're like, huh? Yeah. For you watching principal and interest.
Yeah, those are real stories. Like, it is great when you can get a check and make money, but the ins and outs of what people maybe don't always see, like that, those are trying times. Like you're making a bet on a market. Like, I do a podcast too, and as you guys were talking about making decisions, a guy I had on is General Stanley McChrystal, and so he was the general in charge of Afghanistan. Yeah, but he wrote a book on risk, on making calculated decisions, which I love because I love asking people, how do you decide when it's time to keep pushing or pivot, right? And so you have to make
question.
make decisions based off of the best information at hand. and then you do the best analysis on that and then move forward. But yeah, I mean, things like that. There'd be times where, early on where I remember it was like a Friday at like 7:30 or 8. It was close to dusk in the summertime, and I had gone out and realized that the forms that they were about to go pour a footing were laid incorrectly on a building line. So I had to go out with a tape. I remember being frustrated, like things like that. I've cleaned up human poop out of a safe room that, you're sitting there and you're cleaning up poop and you're like, well, did I go to college? But it's just, you got to do the things that you need to do to.
My brother built our very first home. We didn't have it surveyed, the corner surveyed.
Yeah.
So we built it over the property line.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah. It's not
You had to go it's like a big deal to do that.
Oh yeah.
They wanted us to shave. I was like, I can't shave 4 feet off this house.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what, having to go back over and make sure before we poured that footing so it didn't encroach on that line.
So let's talk. So your dad owns a home building business. You grew up in your whole life. You realized that you didn't want to be a coach anymore, or still maybe wanted to be a coach, but not at that level, right? Still be involved in coaching because, from my understanding, you still coach high school?
Yeah, I'm a high school coach at Regent Prep here in Tulsa now.
So you still coach. You tried some spec homes, flipped homes, right? Got married, and now the last time I seen you, full blown, you were working for a good friend of mine, Jonathan, at Legacy.
Yeah.
Or working with Jonathan at Legacy. Mm-hmm. Dad's building spec homes. You got a touch of the commercial side.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got that bug, right? And now you're like, hey, Dad, let's take all that experience and these contractors you have. Let's build out this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And maybe start focusing more on commercial.
Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. I mean, when I got into real estate, I realized, okay, I didn't anticipate being in this, but when I get myself in something, I want to learn as much as I can about it. And so residential is great. Like, it can be a really good business. There can be challenges with it, like we talked about, but it can be a good business. And that's what we've done. We've done neighborhood development. So, and we still have 2 neighborhood developments. Some are finishing up, and then we got 1 new one that we started. And so that's a 37-lot development that'll be gated, whatnot. But I learned that when I started reading about real estate, it was a great way to build long-term wealth. But when you think about residential or maybe a sale, like, you put in a lot of work. Let's say it's a spec home or it's a development. You put in a lot of work. Maybe let's go with development. The development process from start to finish, I mean, it could be
3 years.
It could be it could be 3 years maybe. But
I'm talking about just to get the lots developed.
Yeah. 3 to 6 years maybe, right?
Yeah.
That's what you kind of can speculate. But sometimes, and you may not see any income until you're 5 or 6, right? Okay. So that's a long time to go without having residual income, right? And so what I saw is I started learning about people that were investing into single-family homes, right, and then renting them out. But then you saw all these people who started in it consolidate into multifamily. So that's initially where I got the idea, like, I want to learn more about multifamily because it's a little bit, there's efficiencies, there's economies of scale that you can consolidate. And so it's more of a business too because of the way it operates. And so that's when I just got connected to a guy, didn't know what he did, but he was like, hey, I think you'd be good at brokerage. I'm in multifamily brokerage. And I was like, well, I wanted to learn about that. So that's what segued me into that. And then now coming off that, back into development, and we're trying to kind of pivot our company into more development asset or more commercial assets than
so when you say commercial, are you saying commercial industrial buildings, or are you saying commercial into retail, or are you saying commercial more like into multifamily?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love good design, and so I'd love to do some great things in the Tulsa metro area with kind of mixed use that you don't see very often in Tulsa yet.
But about the work-live type?
Yeah. I would love to do that type of stuff, but right now, what I mean by that is more self-storage and multifamily. Those 2 assets are the 2 that we're looking at.
Self-storage, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have 2 of them for sale.
Okay.
I developed 2 of them. One of them I bought, it was a piece of junk in Muskogee, and I reskinned it, completely redid it. I'm in the process of have a contract on that. And then I'm in the process of selling my Stillwater one too. And it's a really nice facility, but it's just like an apartment complex, you know.
Yeah.
if I was telling anybody on this show, like, focus on one asset class, somebody that's shotgun approached it. What I mean by that, I tried multifamily, and I tried single family, I tried development, I tried industrial buildings. We've done some stuff with Legacy Group on retail space, self-storage facilities. We own some commercial buildings that do specialize in urgent cares. And we do gravel yacht lots, industrial building right here, right? So we've tried a little bit of everything, and every little niche is kind of like coaching, just because you can coach. But what are you coaching? You coaching football? Are you coaching basketball?
Sure,
Coaching,
absolutely.
and then you can get even more specific on that. Are you being an offensive coordinator? Are you coaching receivers?
Yeah.
What are you coaching here?
Everything's nuanced. Yeah.
So it's like same thing with real estate, like, understanding how to manage these things where they actually turn a profit, and building them correctly and building them in the right locations and identifying opportunities. And just the faster you can filter through it, and the way I've learned is usually is just by experience and by doing it, and then finding what passion you like. For me, I don't like I know everybody's like, oh, self-storage. They can be great.
Sure.
But there's just a lot of movement in them, right? They can, like a apartment complex, right? You can rent it out. It's usually a 12-month term or 24-month term. A self-storage is month by month.
Yeah.
They could be, your churn rate could be, especially where one of ours is in a college town. We know we're going to be full around April, May, and we know we're going to have our vacancy percentage is going to go up around September because everybody's moving back in their dorms, right?
Yeah.
So I don't dislike the self-storage facilities. I think there's other ways to make money that are a lot easier. And
Absolutely.
that's where I'm trying to figure out with, going into your investment strategy and listening to how you talk. And that's where Eric and I are trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out personally because I love the real estate. You know what I mean? But what, you said self-storage and multifamily. Those can kind of work together, but that's two different realms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No question. I think you bring up some really good points of just for you guys' experience surrounding yourself, if people are looking to get into things, surrounding yourself with guys like yourself that have been doing things. Like you're actually out there doing things and learning. And really, how often would you guys say you've had 100% of the information you needed?
Never.
0.
Right?
Yeah.
So
0 times.
a lot of it, yeah.
That's a fact. Yep.
A lot of it is the willingness to just figure it out as you go. Like,
And that's what we're big on is like, me personally, we talk about this a lot too, is that I don't give up, right? What I want to lack in understanding, because I'm going to miss some things, is you're going to get an effort, right? And we get into that, and I get into that with the full self-understanding is that I will figure it out, right? And I think that's a lot of separation too, is people are hesitant because like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And you're right. All those things could happen, right? And I could tomorrow, we could have a truck roll over and have a mass accident, and I would have to start over tomorrow. That is a potential scenario, right? That I live with every single day, just like he does, right? But I also have enough personal belief in myself that if something like that happens, that I can start over and I'll do it again. I'll do it faster, right? And that same goes with when we buy things or when we get into real estate or we get into this, is that we know that we're going to have enough effort that it's not going to fail. Like we will figure it out. And if it does, we'll shut it down and have enough wherewithal to shut it down, pivot, right? And go and keep going at it, right? So we've talked a lot so far about your journey. We've talked about, the residential field you got into, talked into getting developments.
How old are you, by the way?
I am 33.
Okay, you're young.
Yeah. I
mean, I'm only 38, but like that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot in 33 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of experience in that young of time. You know? But what I was getting at is that you've treated me earlier with something we talked about off camera, but you got into residential, you're getting into multifamily, you got into development, commercial. But what intrigued me the most so far is your podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And some of the people you've had on there.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about why you got into podcasts, right? What are you trying to gain out of it? Who you've had on, because you've mentioned a few names that I was like, what the heck are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just being honest. Like,
I don't know about that, but I started my podcast Man, it's been 4 years ago I started my podcast.
You started
Wow.
4 years ago.
Yeah. 4
Wow,
years
okay.
ago.
I did not know that.
And it's called Building Excellence. So it's all about helping people build excellence in their life, leadership, and legacy. And so when I got out of coaching, I didn't listen to any podcasts. I'm a big reader. I'd read a lot of books. But one of my good friends sent me a podcast, and that's kind of how I got into podcasts and listening to it, because I love hearing people's stories. And from that, really, I started thinking, I was like, I wish getting out of coaching, you don't have as much opportunity to reconnect with everybody because you're just not in the same world anymore. I was like, man, I got to meet people at very high levels within the basketball community, college, NBA, and then also in the business world, because I would just try to seek out. I love learning about leadership. I love learning people's stories. And so I was like, man, I wish I could go back and re-listen to all these stories from these guys that I admired so that I could just go back and re-listen and learn. So that was kind of the genesis of idea of the podcast is, man, maybe I could go back and have conversations and talk about leadership, talk about their life, talk about the things that are going on. And so that was how it started, and started 4 years ago, and it's really been fun to watch it grow and evolve.
So who are some big name people you've had you talked to and on your podcast?
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate to have a lot of good ones, and